What's going on, nation? AJ Riley here with Eric Vincent for your favorite Detroit sports show, Beyond the Box. We have a lot of stuff. NBA trade deadline just happened, just ended. I woke up this morning inundated with trade news, with trade deadline news. The biggest news being Kevin Garnett. What?
It's okay.
2000? Kevin Durant
There you go.
is no longer a Brooklyn Net.
Oh man,
He's now a Phoenix Sun, teaming up with Ayton and Booker.
DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, another super
Man.
team for Kevin Durant.
Another super team. I mean, at a certain point, it's just, that's what they are, right? They just all team up together to play, to be super teams. And what's crazy is the Nets got 2 players back plus, was it 4 first-round picks?
4 first rounders. Yeah, they got Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and then 4 first, and then TJ Warren, or not TJ Warren. TJ Warren went to Phoenix with him. Yep, he was a part of that deal.
For 4 first rounders. Do people not like draft picks anymore? Kyrie got traded, as you said last time, for a 6th grader in 2029, and Kevin Garnett
Durant
did it again. Oh my god!
It's okay, man.
This is how mind blown I am. This is how crazy it is. Like, I can't even keep the name straight because these doggone guys are being traded for 4 first-round picks.
Nuts. Absolutely insane. This is the biggest reality TV show in sports right now.
It's insane.
NBA trade deadline is always nuts. And yes, like you said, waking up to the Woj bomb and Shams and everybody going nuts. And we just talked about it on the last show. To me, this is something else that I think is kind of ruining the game. We talked about is Steph Curry's 3 ruining the game. The abuse of player empowerment is ruining the NBA. This is just getting out of hand, especially when they want to go to super teams like this. Like, it just makes no sense to me.
Well, like, okay, there's 2 sides of this, right?
Okay.
And I don't have the full story, so maybe you can enlighten me a little bit.
Okay.
But this whole like diva thing of Kevin Garnett, Kevin Durant is a doggone good player, considered to be probably one of the best all time.
All time great, yep.
But yet he demands essentially to be teamed up with these other superstars.
Yep.
But then on the flip side of that coin, you also have a pretty darn good point guard, or was at once a pretty darn good point guard, in John Wall, who is under contract. No. John Wall, who's under contract and is like refusing to play.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So there's 2 sides of this whole diva-ness that is going into the NBA that is like the product, right? It's ruining. And like, for me, I don't like it.
Yeah. I didn't think you would. John Wall's situation is a little different just because he's on like a rebuilding team and a veteran.
Sure,
he wants to win. Kevin Durant is the worst. He's the absolute worst. I mean, he starts off with a absolute super team of a young core with him, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. That OKC core was supposed to still be together right now.
Yeah.
And they've all moved to at least 3 or 4 different teams since then. Like, it's nuts. And it's always because I don't have a problem with players wanting to be traded, but Kevin Durant helped set up everything in Brooklyn. You and Kyrie wanting to run after what you guys signed off on, acquiring Ben Simmons, bringing in James Harden, deciding on the coach. Like, everything was ran by y'all. Then when it gets tough, and tough, as you just said, was 5th in the East, now you want to dip? I don't get it. This is one of my biggest pet peeves in the NBA. And again,
it's terrible.
I like players having the freedom of, the little bit of player empowerment. But when you abuse it with situations that you set up, I can't rock with that. I'm disappointed to hear this news about.
Now, here's my question, okay? Did Kevin Durant demand this trade?
Yes.
After the Kyrie thing.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't publicized that he asked for it, but he did ask for a trade before the season started. So maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
So who ruined the Nets? That's, I think, maybe the question. Who ruined the Nets? And maybe the Nets are fine. Maybe the Nets, addition by subtraction, get rid of the distraction of the 2 divas. And as, some other people I know that know the game of basketball well say that they can go 10 deep and they'll still make the playoffs.
Maybe.
Like, maybe this is addition by subtraction, but like you look at it from the outside and you seem to think, did Kyrie blow up the Nets?
Kyrie deserves a lot of blame. KD deserves a lot of blame. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to put it on the front office because the front office had a young core. They had guys, Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, D'Angelo Russell, Joe Harris, who was a sniper. And you traded basically 75% of that to have Kevin Durant and Kyrie in. Now, granted, if you have a chance to get a superstar, you do it. I don't blame you of that. But taking all of your assets and then putting all the power into the hands of your superstars, that's on the front office. You got to at least set a standard that, hey, we're happy to have you, but this is still our show. Like, Kevin Durant and Kyrie went to Brooklyn without even meeting with them. They talked to each other and said, hey, you want to go to Brooklyn? Yeah, let's go do it. Then they reached out to them and it became official. So I blame the front office for letting that power be conceded to them.
Okay, so you're kind of blaming the adults in the room.
Yes,
where you have to blame for the players to feel entitled enough to go, hey, you want to play together? Let's go pick a team. Let's go play with them, and then be able to do that. At a certain point, somebody's got to stand up and say, no.
Yeah, but you can't let it get to that point anyway. Like, this is nothing like the NFL. The NBA players have too much power to an extent, you could argue.
Yes.
And if this is where it's gotten to, it was never supposed to get to this point. You can welcome in a superstar, but like Joe Tsai, like, you have to be the one still making the final calls. You can't be like, I understand running ideas by your star players, but having them co-sign everything and Kyrie standing out saying things like, oh, maybe we don't need a coach. And then you don't even like set him straight for that. Then the vaccine drama happens. And first you go saying, oh, we don't want him here until he makes a decision he wants to be here full time. Then you change your mind and bring him back and give the power back to him. So I have to give it to the front office. They should have kept their foot like on the imprint of the team the whole way. And they just conceded all of it.
I don't know why I don't watch the NBA. Like,
yeah, I don't.
This is why. This is why.
You.
It's not interesting to me to watch, 30-year-old divas just be paraded around in a lot of ways and get their way every time. Can we just have some type of account? Like Kevin Durant, I said it right. Kevin Durant, you are considered to be an all-time great player.
He is.
With an all-time worst attitude.
No question.
It's so bad.
It's terrible.
It's so bad. And I don't know. We could go on this for hours, but I want to talk about the Pistons at the trade deadline because they also made a deal. And they, you are celebrating because Saddiq Bey is no longer a Piston. Your least favorite player maybe in the entire world. I don't know. You've hated on him a lot. But he's no longer a Piston. He was traded to the Warriors, who then flipped him for 5 second-round picks to the Atlanta Hawks. Mm-hmm. Kevin Knox also goes to the Warriors.
Mm-hmm. And then he goes to the Blazers.
And then he went to the Blazers?
Yeah, they just flipped
So the Warriors flipped 2 of our players for draft picks?
Pretty much. They got
and
Gary
we got
Payne
James
Jr.
Wiseman back.
And we got James Wiseman in the process,
and
yes.
All we could have done is traded Saddiq to Atlanta for 5 second-round picks.
I mean, basically that could have been it. And there was a rumor that they tried to get John Collins, who was, their big-time 4, but that didn't happen.
Grade the deal from Troy Weaver. Grade the deal. Because the trade deadline's over now. Grade the deal. Is this a good deal? Wiseman's a center. They really don't have any bigs. They struggle in defensive rebounding. Did he fill a need at the expense of losing someone he made a lot of moves on draft night 2020 to acquire?
I'm going to be nice.
You don't have to be nice.
I'm going to be nice. This is a D- trade. B being mean and overreacting is an F. The only reason I'm not giving him an F is Troy Weaver is the ultimate chess player. So sometimes, like last year, when they traded Jeremy Grant for a 2025 pick, that ended up being parlayed into a trade at the draft where they got Jalen Duren back. It was a creative way to basically trade Jeremy Grant for a lottery pick. So I'm holding out a sliver of hope that maybe there's an extra move that comes on top of this. But right now, this is a D-. I'm so disappointed in this. I'm happy that Saddiq Bey is out of here. He played himself out of this rotation. He's not a shooter like he used to be anymore.
Not consistently enough.
Not at all. Like he was sub 40% as a rookie from 3. He sacrificed that to become an ISO driving player, and that's not his game.
Not his game.
I'm okay with him being gone. But what you got in return is an injury-prone big that has no moves, it's not a good defender, and he could be up for a 5-year, $195 million deal in the next 2 years. Or not even 2 years, a year. So he's not worth any of that. And the Pistons always have this notion of trying to pick up these cast-off players like Marvin Bagley, who we don't want you anymore, try somewhere else, try to reinvent your career with a different team. That's exactly what Wiseman is now. Bol was almost that when we tried trading for him last year. And this is, I think, the worst of those players. Wiseman hasn't showed anything, and I don't think this is a pick that makes sense for this team based on how the roster's set up.
Okay. So there's a couple of things here. You have a terrible defensive team, first of all. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
Which, Wiseman defensively, not great. But he is a big body.
Yes.
Okay. Who can play center, where you don't really have a center unless you're considering Nerlens Noel your center. I know they're Jalen Duren's supposed to be that role, but is Jalen Duren really a center, or is he more of a power forward?
No, he's a 5. Yeah, he's definitely.
You think he's more of a 5? Okay.
Yeah, he's.
But
center.
they've had Isaiah Stewart in the middle of that and trying to play out of position, and so maybe this gets them to the finish line of this season with more losses, more lottery balls in. I mean, this is a tank move.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It can't be a winning move. Now, like you said, they do need more depth in the front court for their center. Jalen Duren is their starting 5, hopefully for the next decade. He's shown that he's going to pan out to be great.
Sure.
Isaiah Stewart, I'm fine with him being your 4, but you need an upgrade at that position. He's not a amazing defender. He's not polished offensively. You need an upgrade at that position. And Marvin Bagley's always hurt. That's another part of it. Their depth is bad. You did need another big man, but him, I just don't like that. And it was rumored
hold on. How much of his game can you really see when he plays at Golden State? Now hear me out. Because if he plays at Golden State, they aren't really featuring a center with the amount of sharpshooters that they have.
Right.
So is there a possibility that this was just a bad situation for James Wiseman?
No.
Because if I remember correctly, he was quite highly touted coming out of college.
Yep, coming out of Memphis, he was him. But I think at this point, and you said it, yes, Golden State is not a place where they predicate and put a lot of attention on centers. However, they have Jonathan Kuminga, who's a 4, big body, very athletic. Basically, they try to play him as imagine Draymond, but with hyper athleticism attached to it. We were hoping, see what we saw from Kuminga, that maybe some of that would translate for Wiseman. Wiseman hasn't shown that he can be that pick and roll threat with Steph Curry, that he doesn't really mesh with Jordan Poole. He doesn't have the good rolling skills with the Draymond where he can lob it to you at the rim. He hasn't shown that. And maybe it is an example of where he needs just a fresh start somewhere. But I don't think the Pistons are the place that are going to be able to bring that out of him. Dwayne Casey hasn't done a great job of developing. I don't think he's going to be able to do it with Wiseman.
But, I mean, Dwayne Casey's also not long for this job.
No, basically what we see it. If any big move was going to happen, I want to see him. Not a guy like Wiseman being period.
Are we really? I mean, kid's 21 years old.
He is.
He'll be 22 soon in March.
Yes.
There's still time.
Of course, there's time.
Written this off already. This is his 3rd season in the league.
Yeah, and through those 3 seasons, he played, 39 games his first year. He missed the entire second year. And this year, he's only played 21 games dealing with an ankle injury. He's becoming in and out of the G League. He just doesn't – he hasn't shown any of the promise that would warrant a move like trading Saddiq Bey, who at one point they thought was going to be one of their core guys.
But isn't.
I just don't see it.
But clearly
no, he's definitely not.
So Are we
For sure.
overvaluing Saddiq Bey?
Yes, but like again, I don't think Saddiq's a superstar, an all-star, but you could have got better than James Wiseman in return for
You
that.
think?
Like again, there were rumors that that John Collins would have been the deal. I would have rather seen that gamble on him instead of a James Wiseman. I just don't see it, man. It needs to be more than, oh, he's young and has potential. We have a bunch of guys like that. You don't want to be the OKC Thunder
sure.
where you have a bunch of young, super developmental guys.
Right.
You need some proven talent.
I mean, obviously, you're going to be adding to that in the lottery. This, I don't know.
Victor Wembanyama, hopefully that's it.
Don't get your hopes up.
It's not pretty, man. This has been a brutal rebuilding year for the Pistons.
14 wins for the Pistons.
No Cade, like it's
here's an interesting thing considering Detroit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've gone through what I would call the Sahara Desert of sports fandom recently. It's just been dry. There's been nothing to look forward to. Not the Pistons, but the Lions have kind of started to become that oasis in the desert in a lot of ways because there's hope. The Wings started out really good this season. Have kind of faltered since then, but they've made a push and they've been exciting. The Tigers were a complete disappointment last season, fired Al Avila, and now you have the Pistons, who have supplanted the Detroit Tigers as the worst organization in Detroit at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
I just want to make sure that we're aligned with that. That like if we're power ranking the Detroit teams right now, you have the Lions, the Wings, the Tigers would be third, and the Pistons would be fourth.
Yeah, maybe. I would maybe flip the Tigers and Pistons.
You're
maybe.
Crazy.
I would maybe. Just because of Cade Cunningham alone. With Cade and Jalen Duren, those are guys for the future. How many solidified guys for the future do the Tigers have that you can put your money on at this point? For the future.
When the pitchers come back from injury, you've got 6.
They got 6? Yeah. 6 total players, you would say?
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of prospects that are coming up too that are going to be solid. So okay.
Right.
Let's talk about that then. Let's talk about the Detroit Tigers.
Okay.
Pitchers and catchers, and when we go, we have our show on Monday night, we're going to talk a little bit more about baseball because that will be the week that pitchers and catchers have reported or will be reporting next week. Mm-hmm. So now that we're in baseball season, because Super Bowl will be over this Sunday, and that means baseball season has begun because the Pistons are irrelevant, the Wings will soon be irrelevant. It's now baseball season.
Mm-hmm.
What are your expectations for the Tigers coming up this season?
They are extremely low. Extremely low. I don't have any kind of faith for what the Tigers could do this season. At this point in rebuilds, I just want to see watchable.
Hold on. The rebuild is over, according to Chris Illich.
Right.
Last
year. Yeah.
And Scott Harris said that he won't use that term. He'll take calculated risk, which he did take this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Why are your expectations low?
I just don't think they made enough moves. I don't think they did enough to kind of solidify any kind of hope for what I'm seeing. Like, they were horrible last season. I mean, Baez was very disappointing. The biggest highlight last year was Miggy chasing history, which was fun. It was cool to see him get it. Which he
got in, like, April. So after that, it was, like, nothing.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, they got that early. He did well. And, I mean, from that point on, it was kind of just rough. Like, it was quiet at Comerica Park. I mean, we saw Riley Green. He was a really big highlight. I'm super excited to see what he does next season. I mean, outside of those few names, I don't really have a whole lot of expectation for them. If they finish last in the division, if they're struggling and,
fighting for scraps again at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have high expectations for this team this year. Over-under win total is set at 68.5. Under or over? And FYI, to correct you, they did not finish last in the division last season. They finished second to last in the division last season.
Oh, yes. Excuse me.
Fact check.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But if they do that this season, I will not be surprised. Over under 68, I'll go slightly under.
God, they had 66 last season. They had
That's okay.
66.
That's
Hold
not.
on,
That's not
let me
enough.
set this up for you for a second.
Please.
66 wins last season, 96 losses, using
Yeah.
17 different starting pitchers and getting
Okay.
career worst offensive seasons from guys like Jonathan Scope, Javi
Mm-hmm.
Baez.
Yep.
Austin Meadows only played 36 games last season.
That's true.
If Austin Meadows comes back and plays a full season, Jonathan Scope rebounds, which there's no reason why he can't rebound, and Javi Baez was actually a pretty darn good hitter the second half of the season. It got lost because of all the strikeouts, but he was a really good hitter
Right.
in the second half of the season from the All-Star break on. Not
Mm-hmm.
to mention Riley Green taking a step forward. Not to mention
Yep.
Spencer Torkelson figuring out what a baseball bat is again and using it to hit a baseball. There's no reason why this team can't be over 68.5 wins. All of that
Maybe.
combined is worth at least 10 more wins in my mind. This team you're looking at, and I know it was a quiet offseason, and I know people are highly upset that there wasn't a ton of moves made. You're
It wasn't.
looking at a team with this current roster constructed that could win at minimum 70 games, probably at maximum 76 games.
Which will end them up where in the division?
Probably third.
Okay. All right. And you will. Okay. I guess that will be progress. I guess unless they're just unless the division bottoms out.
Let
But
me ask you.
you're putting a lot of hope.
I
Go
am.
ahead.
I am putting a lot of hope, but I'm sitting here because I've been like looking at this stuff, especially when it comes to the Tigers, and I've been sitting here thinking like, what went wrong last year? Everything. Every freaking thing went wrong last year.
From the start. Yes.
But not even from opening day. From spring training, it went wrong. Because Riley Green
got
fractured his foot in spring training, was out for 7 weeks. If he doesn't fracture his foot, I don't think that Spencer Torkelson starts
That's fair.
in the major leagues, which then allows him to get some seasoning in AAA and come back up and not be, the struggle bus that he was at the beginning of the season.
Right.
So that started it. Then you trade for Austin Meadows.
Mm-hmm.
And you trade for Austin Meadows because Riley Green got hurt. If Riley Green doesn't get hurt, you probably don't trade for Austin Meadows, which means you have Isaac Paredes, who was hitting the ball quite well last season. Okay? Then Austin Meadows gets vertigo. Who gets right? And then he's dealing with an Achilles injury. And then, God help him, he had mental health issues. So I hope that like that stuff got figured out before he comes back this season.
Serious business, yeah.
Then Mize goes down, Tommy John surgery. Then Tarek Skubal goes down. Then every other pitcher, and then Eduardo Rodriguez falls off the face of the earth. Like, legitimately, anything that could have gone wrong for the Detroit Tigers in 2022 went wrong. And they still won 66 games.
Which isn't a lot.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. But they didn't lose 100 games. They lost 96, which is significant. It's
4 games is significant.
It's a lot different look when you look in the standings and you see a triple digit in the loss column than you see a double digit. There's a big difference there. Okay.
So you have hope that not only are they going to stay healthy, but these young prospects that they have are going to pan out.
Yes, because
this season,
the moves that were made this offseason, Eric, there weren't a ton of them.
Right.
There's two reasons. And the two reasons that give me hope. Number one, they got rid of Gregory Soto. They got rid of Gregory Soto, which was a good move because that netted them 3 potentially major league bats. Not great bats, not Miguel Cabrera, because nobody's Miguel Cabrera.
No,
but
of course not.
2 guys who are extremely athletic and can play multiple positions, actually. And then a catcher in Donnie Sands, who's only had 4 games at the major league level. But defensively is a pretty good catcher. The other pieces that they've got have created what in baseball you need is organizational depth, specifically in the fielding aspect of things, in the position player aspect. Are any of the names that they
Right.
got this offseason huge names? No, which
No.
pissed a lot of people off. And I understand that.
Right.
But if you were on the job for 4 months, would you commit 11 years and $300 million to an aging player? If you were
No, absolutely
okay,
not.
so you kind of have to look at things from the Scott Harris perspective, right?
Right.
You're not going to go spend your new boss's money immediately without seeing what you have first.
Of course.
2023 is purely an evaluation year for the Detroit Tigers. They have the organizational depth that they need. They've created a developmental process which is going to make those prospects better.
Mm-hmm.
And 2024 it should all pay off. Which does not mean that they cannot win 75. Maybe if everything falls right, push towards like an 8,500 win, not 500 wins, but a 500 season.
That's
like
selling high.
That's a dream scenario. 75 wins you have to be happy with, and there's no reason they can't get there.
Maybe.
No,
again,
it's
I
not
don't.
Maybe you're like
all based on what you're
like
presenting,
all the Detroit fans that are like, oh, I can't believe this group that they signed. Just a bunch of failures, just collecting everybody's nobodies. I'm
not saying that. This is the kind of fan I am. I'm a prove it guy. Before I buy in the way you're buying in, I need to see it. So yes, I'm not questioning anything that you said. They got to stay healthy. We want to see the young talent blossom and show through this evaluation period. But you got to show me before I believe that you can get to 75 wins after just getting through a marginal 60 plus last season
66.
and dealing with injuries on top of it. So can you stay healthy for one? Sure. Let's start there. Stay healthy. Then we'll see if you can play. Let's go there for first.
I'm a numbers guy. I'm an analytics guy. The analytics tell me that they're going to get to 70 to 75 wins. I'm telling you.
You are the analytics guy.
Yeah, when it comes to baseball. When it comes to basketball, I'm an old school fundamental guy, like we talked about on Monday.
Right.
Baseball, I think the new metrics are good, and I think that they, it's not going to be a happy baseball season. Like, none of the metrics are like this team will challenge for a wild card spot. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But if they get to 70 wins, I think that's a successful, that's the floor. That's a successful season.
I'm good with that. I agree with you. It sounds kind of similar to the Pistons. They had a lot of injuries to start off. It's kind of rattled a whole lot between with them, with their franchise player going down. And I mean, honestly, since then, they don't have the injury excuse. I think maybe the Tigers do. Pistons
in
do not at this
2022
point,
they did, but not in 2023. And I'm excited.
That's fair.
Mize and Skubal are going to go on the 60-day DL next week when pitchers and catchers report, which opens up 2 roster spots. And there's some people out there that they could still sign.
You got some guys in mind that you like?
Well, Andrew Chafin, who we saw last year, he's still available. Michael Fulmer is still available. So more arms to add to depth. Jerkson Profar is still out there, switch hitting outfielder, which could make a dent. So who knows? I think there's a couple moves up the sleeve that are going to come this spring, and it'll be very interesting because, and I've been writing about this on Detroit Sports Nation this week. I've been putting out our spring training position battles, so make sure that you're checking those out. We talked about left field. We've talked about third base. We dropped the one for the catching position today. Make sure you're checking those out because they are out, and they'll give you the breakdown of all the players. There's some exciting prospects that I think could make some noise in spring training, could make some position battles really, really interesting. In fact, I projected one of those prospects as the starting third baseman on opening day. So we will see how that goes.
We'll see how it shakes.
All right, man. Well, we'll be back on Monday. I appreciate, you all tuning in. Make sure that if you're watching on YouTube that you are subscribed and have clicked that bell for notifications. Wherever else you're at on social media, make sure that you have liked and subscribed to Detroit Sports Nation. He's Eric Vincent. I am AJ Riley. This is Beyond the Box, and we will see you guys Monday night for another episode.